Yo, what's up, guys? This is the Insane Game Freak here. Alright, so I wanted to talk about Persona 5. One, because I've been playing the game a lot more recently, and then two, because they just recently announced an anime, which should be to the surprise of no one, especially considering the amount of anime. They did two animes for Persona 4, and for two different games that literally have the same plot other than you adding in an extra character, which didn't seem to really change much in the grand scheme of things. So I'm not surprised that Persona 5 has an anime. I think I will start this off with a Persona 5 update as far as my gaming update for Persona 5 first, and then we'll kind of transition into the anime. So I think the last main video I did on Persona 5 was the whole my one issue with Persona 5 so far. I think I've mentioned Persona 5 in gaming updates and I think that driving stream, but for the most part I haven't really made a video about my updated thoughts on Persona 5 since that original my one issue with Persona 5 video so far, which you can go look. I'll probably put it in the card somewhere on the screen, so you guys can go check it out if you're curious. But I wanted to talk about it because that when I think at that point I was at Makoto, meaning I think I had just got Makoto and I was in the middle of the dungeon she was introduced in, which I believe was about now like 2 dungeons away from where I'm at now, because I got Futaba, I've done all her dungeons, and I know all the plot stuff with Futaba, and I just got Haru, and I'm still in that gap where where you have the time limit where you beat the dungeon, but if you beat the dungeon before the time limit is up, you can pretty much coast until that time limit hits and then the plot continues. I'm in that period. So I've already beat the dungeon with Haru. I already got Haru and I beat her dungeon. I'm just waiting at this point for the plot to continue when I'm doing my side stuff, my confidants, all that fun shit. So, just to kind of talk about how I'm feeling about the story and the characters, because I know a lot of people. My video was probably the most controversial in the sense that I have very different opinions on the story and stuff like that. Because I didn't mind the gameplay mechanics, and I still don't mind the gameplay mechanics. If anything, I've come to appreciate the gameplay mechanics even further, in the form of the fact that I wouldn't say the game is hard, but it's hit this interesting setup to where if you know the setup for your if you know the weakness to the personas you're fighting, I mean not personas, I guess technically they are personas. The personas you're fighting, you can easily cakewalk a dungeon. The biggest issues in dungeons for the most part is if you're like me, I'm the kind of guy that wants to try to get all the way up to the end of the dungeon in one day session. Mainly the way you can easily do that is just stocking up on items, but that usually these dungeons are long as fuck, which means I think they're intentionally wanting you to do it in multiple days. If you're crazy enough like me, you'll do it in one day, which unfortunately means by the time you get to the third half of the dungeon, it's a struggle because you probably, like me, I ran out of healing items and I'm sitting there because that's what happened in Haru's dungeon. I'm sitting there, I got 2/3 into the damn dungeon and literally I had no more SP for most of my main characters who were hitting hard, which is at this point would be Makoto, Morgana, and Haru. I ran out of SP for all those characters and my main character and Joker, and I'm sitting there fuck, because of course everything in the dungeon will mainly only die to those characters. So I'm like, god damn it. And that it sucks. It fucking sucks to be through a dungeon, run out of SP healing items, and literally just kind of trying to duck enemies while doing the dungeon. Which, obviously, the dungeon's designed to where you don't have to do it all in one day. I'm just a fucking madman. I wanted to do it all in one day. One day in terms of the game time. But the cool thing about the mechanic, about the battles I like, is that, an enemy can easily fuck your shit up if you don't know his weakness. Because they can easily just start chaining in one mores and fucking just destroying you, especially hitting you with status effects and whatnot. Some of them more deadly than others, although at some points I start ignoring status effects because I realize, I don't know if it's for all status effects, but I notice that some status effects will just go away in time anyway. And to me, if I don't have the character out to heal, it's not really worth it. I'm not totally sure if there's confidants abilities later on I can get that allow me to just freely switch in and out. Uh, and I know there is the ability you get to switch out, but you have to be using Joker to use the ability. I wonder if there's like an even quicker way to do that. But you know, that's besides the point. I like the fact that a battle can easily go to shit just because you don't know the matchup, which happens every time you walk into a fucking new dungeon because it's usually introduced with new areas and they're usually geared towards the enemy that they're usually geared towards the character that plot important dungeon is. So like a lot of them are weak to Haru and like Makoto, and I'm sitting there like, well, I use them every fucking match, and then I'm fucking out of SP. I'm messing out of SP items, and so now I'm gonna just have to brute force it, which is I think what they expected you to do, because a lot of the enemies have abilities to they're either resistant or they just outright reflect physical attacks, and I'm like, all right, you sneaky bastards, I see what you're doing. The story, I will honestly say I'm still not overly interested in the story because the story, it's kind of going in the direction I thought it would. Now, if I remember correctly, one of my complaints back in May was like how I couldn't stand the fact that the game was having this whole shitting on adults fest, which the game still is kind of mellowed out on. And the reason why is because what I've expected to happen is happening, which is it's literally we're hitting the peak and we're about to fall. And to me, like, the biggest issue here is that, like, because I think I didn't articulate my issues before. My main issue then, which is what I'm going to try to convey now, is not that the story was inherently like terrible. It's just that the story is very fucking like predictable in the sense of where it's going. And what makes it worse is that the characters aren't insanely likable, which I need to get into real quick. I still don't think Ryuji and Anne are that great. I finally got to some somewhat interesting confidants with Anne. Still not fucking great, in my opinion. To me, Ryuji and Anne are the weakest. And Ryuji, as I said in the last video, still suffers. As I said, not as much because the game is kind of eased up on it. But Ryuji still suffers from that annoying whiplash where, like, his confidants, he's pretty chill and I can enjoy him. But, like, every time it's plot related, he just opens his mouth and says a bunch of bullshit that, like, I'm sick of him hearing. Because he's, like, for a while in the game, for a good, like, 10 to 20 hours, he's just running around going, fuck adults, fuck adults, fuck adults. And then he's like, fuck school, fuck school, fuck school. And I get it, that's his character, but, like, dude, it doesn't make you entertaining to watch. I mean, you don't have to be an inherently good guy, but Jesus Christ, like, it's like plot Ryuji's annoying as shit, whereas, like, side missions Ryuji is alright. And it's just fucking bland, in my opinion. Love Futaba. That needs to be stated. She is easily like the Nanako of Persona 5, at least. Which means she cannot be waifu material, which is fine. I think she's more adorable as little sister material. So that's where Futaba stays. She's in the safe box. She's pretty cool. I'll work on her confidence because she has the potential to be really good from what I've seen so far. I love her character. Like, literally, Futaba at this point is probably my favorite character out of the main cast. I think the only other character I like near as much is probably, actually, I probably would say all the new ones, which are like the 3 newest girls. Like, Haru is pretty fun. I don't necessarily like the way they introduced her. Like, her plot, it's almost the same issue I have with Makoto, where I think Makoto, I like the character of Makoto, like I like the character of Haru. I don't necessarily like the way they introduced them in the plot with the, for Makoto being the Kenshiro stuff and then the Okumura stuff with Haru, and I'm like, I get it, but it's still not insanely. I don't necessarily like the way they were introduced and used, especially Haru. I think Haru's was really botched, in my opinion, especially because they mixed it with other things. They mixed it with some Morgana stuff, and the Morgana stuff was really fucking whatever to me. But that's also because I don't really care about Morgana that much. Morgana's kind of doing, to me, Morgana's doing almost the same thing Teddy's doing. For at least if the at least for Persona 4, it's like that whole, except like Morgana never really hit that like I'm really loving Morgana feel. Like nothing Morgana has done has been inherently interesting. I mean, when you look at it, the fucking Yusuke and Teddy dynamic from Persona 4 is literally what the Ryuji Morgana dynamic is, except with a little bit more strain and stress and issues behind it. It's not like I hate Morgana. I'm just indifferent. Like I think that's the other thing I need to explain. It's not like I hate all the characters. I'm just super. Ryuji's the only one that actively gets on my nerves. Everyone else I'm pretty indifferent to. Yusuke indifferent. Indifferent to. Actually, yeah. I think literally the original 3 characters I get, Yusuke and Anne, I'm indifferent to. Ryuji kind of gets on my nerves, and I'm indifferent to Morgana. Love Futaba and loving Makoto, and so far I'm liking Haru. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what her confidant stuff is. The game is fine. I'm still enjoying the game. I still think the weakest aspect of this game seems to be the characters in general, because it feels like the game. I understand that the game is darker and it's more serious and people are dying and shit like that. I get it. But, like, I still don't really agree with the mindset, oh, these guys are friends. Not really. It's not even like a simple, oh, they're not opening up to each other because, you know, they don't trust people because of how society has fucked them. And I'm like, I get it, but that doesn't really make sense in some of these characters' cases. Futaba makes perfect sense, which is why I find her adorable, and I love, like, the beginning of her confidants stuff. Makoto, I get it, but that's still not like I think my biggest issue is that even when we get the downtime, like the vacation section in the game, it still doesn't feel great. It's not great by any means. Like the whole Yusuke and your character and Mishima and Ryuji situation. It's like, all right, that's a thing you can do, but like it's still not like overly entertaining. Actually, it's pretty weak in my opinion. That whole fucking situation. That's my thing. Like, the biggest issue is, like, the game doesn't really go out of its way to expand on the characters. And some of these characters don't have that much interesting shit going on. Especially Ryuji and Anne. And I'm pretty far into Ryuji. I'm, like, at Confidant, I think, level 7 with Ryuji and Anne. Around 7 or 8. So I'm, like, almost at the end of it. Because I think they all go up to 9. I've completed Kawakami's, which is, as of right now, my favorite side character. I think I can go ahead and finish off, what's her name? The doctor I like. I like the doctor, but I can't think of her name because I haven't seen her in a while. Like, I haven't actually gone to the doctor because I'm at the point where I need to go do the side mission to get to the end of the doctor's, confidant supports. The reporter, what's her name? Ohio. Some of the other ones I haven't done too much with yet, but like Kawakami's easily my favorite. And then like Futaba, Makoto, and Haru. Definitely. So that's my update on the game. I'll let you guys know as things progress. Now let's talk about the anime, because here's the thing with the anime. The anime has the potential to make me like this game more than I probably currently do. Because if people were to ask me how I feel about Persona 5 right now, I probably would say if I had to rank it out of 10, I'd probably give it like an 8. Because even though I have my issues with the game, I recognize that a lot of people don't. And a lot of people find these characters relatable. And I can totally see, and it's not like the stories run around being complete ass. It just has aspects of it and has the delivery that I don't personally care for. But I recognize that a lot of people do care for it. And I understand what people like about some of these characters and why people connected. The reason why I can't connect with them is because the reason why, because I mean, realistically, you gotta understand, as someone who watches anime, characters like Anne are not interesting to me because I've seen that shit done all the time. You know, it's the fucking American girl, the half non-Japanese girl who gets bullied. It's not fucking interesting. Or even Ryuji's character, which is essentially like a guy who was a generally good guy who got fucked over for doing what he thought was right. Not that interesting. Yusuke's a little bit more, and even Makoto is not super interesting. The character I've related to the most is Futaba, because I can connect to that feeling. But I recognize that other people connect to the other feelings that the other characters kind of represent in their own little ways, right? I get it. I'm hoping if the anime does anything right, all the anime for me personally has to, and we still don't know how many episodes this thing's getting or what. The fact that the game just came out less than, it's probably been like what, 6 months maybe? 6? I think it's been like 6 or 7 months. I can't imagine, depending on when it comes out in 2018, I would hope I would hope Persona 5's anime gets at least 26 episodes. Because I personally don't think 13 would be enough or even be fucking close. Honestly, it probably needs more than 26. It probably needs to be split up into 2 seasons. And I'm hoping to God, if you don't take anything else from the Persona 4 animes, do more character interactions and comedy. That's all I fucking need. Please, dude, because Christ, that's like the worst thing about Persona 5 is its fucking weak ass characters in the sense of like development and shit. And just having like moments. Most of the characters don't even have like cool moments together. It's like I remember the scene that sticks out in my mind, which really to me explains which is the best example of why I don't like the fucking character interactions or why I don't really view them as friends currently. I think it's the sequence where I think Yusuke had just joined. I think it's like Yusuke. Yeah, Yusuke had just joined. Yusuke. I'm sorry, I've said Yusuke like 6 times. After he joins, they have like this little conversation in the main character's attic, and they're kind of talking about each other's past because obviously nobody knows fucking the main character's past yet. I think Ryuji does at this point. But like Anne and Yusuke don't know. So of course it's a bonding time. You know, you sit there and you share it. And what the fuck is going on? Oh, Anne's passed out in the corner. What the fuck? It's like you want to do a friendship moment, and then you have like one of your characters not even conscious during the moment. To me that's just bad. Why do that? Ugh. It's so fucking weak. It's so weak. Because people say, "Oh, the friendship in this game is good." No, maybe the character's relationship with the main characters are good, but how many side interactions do you see going on? I think I've seen one interaction with Anne and Makoto, which was like right before we did the dungeon stuff for her dungeon. Morgana and Ryuji's bantering, some stuff with Ryuji and Anne, but it's like it's a lot of surface level shit. Like there's no like little subtle nuances to it, which is what disappoints me. So for me personally, as long as the anime can kind of cut the bullshit, like, because the problem with the anime is that the anime can easily go into the same situation as Persona 4's anime, which is like barely do anything with the dungeon, and it's primarily about the social interactions, which I think for Persona 5 might help it. Although I think it's kind of it'd be a waste of assets, considering from what I understand, Persona 5 is the first game to have like specialized dungeons, and all the dungeons designs are pretty cool. So I feel like for the anime, it would make the most sense to do a full-on like have sections of the series focusing on the dungeons, and also have sections of the series focusing on the characters. But once again, I don't know how long this is going to be. If it's only like 26 episodes, I can easily see them just saying fuck all the dungeon shit and primarily focus on like the characters, the story, the main plot shit. That's what I think they'll end up doing, probably. Honestly, I think, to me, to get the full kick out of it, I think you really probably need to do episodes based around the dungeons. And I mean like real episodes, because Persona 4 was a lot of fucking around, like dead ass. Like, to me, obviously, if you watch Persona 4 anime, you watch that shit for the jokes and the comedy. You didn't watch that shit for the fights and the dungeon and the development of the fucking, like, the dungeons and shit. Like, none of the metaverse stuff. You watched it for the comedy. So, I don't know. I mean, it's cool that it's getting anime. I'll probably watch it just to see if it makes me like the character shit more than the game has currently. Because the game, I'm pretty fucking indifferent towards. At least on the character side. As I said, there are some characters I like. It's just, you know, a lot of them been done before, and they're all done in the same fucking way. There's nothing new about it. Oh, and it's this half Japanese girl. She's being bullied. Is that new? No, that's done in a fuck ton of animes. And it's not even being approached really in a different way. Except maybe the fact that because this isn't like a harem series, is not as much fan service. That's about it. But, you know. Anyways, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Life's a game. Play to win. And I will catch you guys later. Peace all.